I forgot when I filmed my Dark Night of the Soul video. The day that I was going through the peak, when I was listening to Tool and in the flow, I was obsessed with duality. I had had a realization that everything has a shadow, and that I wrote an apology letter, for instance, and I was very sincere. But even though I'm apologetic, I'm also resentful. And my ex, even though she's resentful, she's apologetic. And even though we love each other, we also have hate. She often tells me she hates me, and she loves me. And I realize that this is natural, that this is the way of things, that there is nothing pure, that everything is both. And I think this really helped me see into my shadow, because I realized the completeness. And this path of duality, of the yin yang, led me to unity. It's like by realizing the duality of everything, somehow I realized the unity of everything. And I think this might be what the third eye is about. This is when I was feeling my third eye opening. And I've since learned about the pineal gland, and I believe that this is a real neurological phenomenon. I believe if they scan my brain, they'd see it. And I believe that what does the pineal gland do? It intermediates. It sits at the center of your brain, of your different systems, and it intermediates. It's at the base of your spinal column, at the base of your brain, right next to the hypothalamus, the kind of executive center. It regulates key things like the clock. It senses dawn and uses dawn to synchronize your body and mind. And it is, Descartes said that he thought it was the seat of the soul because it was the only part of the brain that was not duplicated. It sits in between the two halves of the brain. So if I was to try to understand intellectually what happened, or explain it scientifically, to propose a hypothesis for some scientist to scan my brain and check, I would say that my brain made new connections, that a cluster of new connections were made, opening up mental pathways to and from my pineal gland, or things connected to it like the hypothalamus. And that this helped me somehow to feel unified, both between my body and my mind, but much more generally, much more grandly, the very feeling of unity itself. And since then, this obsession with duality has very much faded, and I feel more about unity. But I wanted to share that aspect of the process. Maybe that's what it feels like to break through. Maybe it's actually a physical connection being made to your pineal gland, and maybe the way you experience this is two becoming one, the two halves of your brain or your body and your mind. something like that. But I do remember about that day being very fascinated with duality and somehow this blending into unity. And I've learned about the pineal gland since, and it makes sense.